Because questions continue to be raised about how U.S. Golden Dome missile defense system could work and how could Canada contribute to this. This week, the Oval Office, U.S. President Donald Trump, did announce the plan for this Golden Dome. He revealed during the announcement that, quote, Canada has called us and they want to be part of it, end quote. Now, Prime Minister Mark Carney has in fact confirmed that Canada is in high-level talks with the U.S. about this system. So we wanted to have a closer look. Aurel Braun is on Zoom with us this morning, political scientist at the University of Toronto. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
So what can you tell us about the potential, first of all, capabilities of this proposal, this Golden Dome?
It is extremely ambitious technologically. It is expensive economically. And it is a question whether this is the right solution to what is a real problem. It is the case that we are facing a very volatile international system with multiple threats. Russia has committed brazen aggression against Ukraine and has designs on parts of NATO. We know that Xi Jinping has been aggressive in building what could be the largest blue water navy in the world, that he has designs on Taiwan. He said very openly that he would take over Taiwan one way or another militarily if necessary. And North Korea has become a nuclear state with ever greater nuclear capabilities. Now, Mr. Trump was very impressed by the Iron Dome system in Israel, which in fact is only one of three elements of the anti-missile defenses in Israel. This is the short-range one. The medium range would be the Davis Sling, and the long range would be the Arrow system. Arrow 2, Arrow 3, and Arrow 4 is coming on stream. But there are differences. The United States would have a much more complex defensive need. The territory of the United States is more than 400 times the size of Israel's. And of course, geographically, Canada is involved because missiles would fly over Canadian airspace if they were to hit the United States on a ballistic curve.
So obviously, I don't have to ask you about the benefits of Canada being involved politically and for our defense. But what's your sense of Canada's involvement? And also, you mentioned this is ambitious. So what's the reality of, Trump can say what he wants about timelines and costs, but what is your sense of what the reality of something like this would take?
If Trump is talking about a kind of astrodome over an abortion-free America, this is simply unrealistic. There's no 100% foolproof missile defense. Even in Israel, their effectiveness is 95%. When it comes to nuclear weapons, 5 or 10% is devastating. You have to be able to bring down all incoming missiles. So this would not be a perfect defense against missiles, but it would enhance deterrence. And that would mean that the message that would go to Russia, that would go to China, would be that any steps they would take militarily would be far more complex. Any attempt they would make to prevent the United States, let's say, from coming to the aid of South Korea or Taiwan would not work through some kind of nuclear intimidation. Also, it is addressed to rogue states such as North Korea, which has an increasing nuclear capability, and to Iran, which is trying to develop one. So consequently, this is looking at an international system that is highly volatile, one that is not one that we wish it to be, but sadly, the reality is that there are problems. Whether this is the solution, that is something else, because this is not going to be doable in 3 years. And for $175 billion, as large as that sum is, it's far too complex. There are too many components, including space-based weapons that would be needed to try to hit missiles shortly after their launch. That would be most effective. But you need to have a capacity for mid-course interception, as well as landing point or close to landing point interception, which could be on Canada's borders. And so $175 billion may turn out to be only the down payment.
Wow, that's quite a statement about how expensive it could be. What is your sense of whether or not this could lead to an arms race? China has reacted to the news by suggesting that.
China suggesting this is really disingenuous. China does not come to this with clean hands. They have done a great deal to actually fuel a current arms race. As I mentioned, they are building the largest naval force in history, which they have already in part deployed in very aggressive ways towards the Philippines and even Vietnam. And China has done a good deal to militarize space. But this is not to say that there couldn't be a worsening of what already is an arms race, and there could be an arms race spiral, which can be extra expensive and destabilizing. There's something called the security dilemma, where each party tries to get a margin of safety, and by trying to match the other side and build that margin of safety, you keep escalating, and so that is indeed one of the dangers. But that speaks to the unpredictability and volatility of the international system, of how in the 21st century we have not come to the realization that ultimately these aggressions, the kind that Russia is perpetrating in Ukraine, present a threat to the entire international system. And we have not developed the institutions that can effectively deal with that. And certainly international law has been inadequate.
We'll leave our conversation there. Thank you very much for walking us through some of the details and realities of this, Aurel Braun. We always appreciate having you on.
Thank you for having me on.